The lights in the command room of the UEF Defiance flickered as Captain Jack Walker stared at the message on his screen. His face grew pale. The ship's damage reports scrolled beside the new orders, making what he was reading seem even more impossible. "They can't be serious," he whispered, running a hand through his short gray hair. The Defiance had barely escaped their last battle. Half the engines were dead. The hull had cracks in 3 sections. 22 crew members were in the medical bay. And now Earth Command wanted them to break through a Vorn blockade. Jack pressed the ship-wide comm button. "All senior officers to the command room. Now." 5 minutes later, the doors slid open. First Officer Lisa Miller entered first, her uniform neat despite the chaos of the past week. Behind her came Chief Engineer Tom Reed, his hands still black with engine grease, and Ship Doctor Anna Davis, looking tired after treating wounded crew for 12 hours straight. "Sit down," Jack said, pointing to the chairs around the central table. "We have new orders." The holographic display in the middle of the table lit up, showing a planet with 7 large Vorn warships surrounding it. "This is New Hope Colony," Jack explained. 3 days ago, a plague broke out there. It's killing hundreds each day. They need medical supplies. And the Vorn are blocking help," Lisa said, leaning forward to study the enemy ships. "Why? What do they gain from this?" Jack's jaw tightened. They claimed the colony broke some expansion treaty. They've declared the planet under quarantine. "Quarantine?" Dr. Davis snorted. "They're just letting people die." "That's why we've been ordered to break through," Jack said. "We're the closest UEF ship." Tom laughed without humor. "Captain, we're in no shape for this. The Defiance is barely holding together. Those are battle-class Vorn ships. They'd tear us apart before we got close." "I know," Jack replied quietly. "Command knows too. They're calling it a necessary sacrifice." The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. "My brother is on that colony," Jack finally said. "Along with 10,000 other humans. I'm not leaving them to die. But I'm not leading you all to certain death either." He pressed another button, and the display changed to show a small device. "What is that?" Lisa asked, leaning closer. "Project Blacklight," Jack answered. "Classified human tech. It was on this ship for testing when we left Earth." Tom's eyes widened. "I've heard rumors. This is the bioweapon." "Not exactly a weapon," Jack corrected. "It doesn't kill. It targets Vorn biology, specifically their sensory systems. It causes confusion, fear. Their ancestors were prey animals before they evolved intelligence. This triggers those old instincts." Dr. Davis looked troubled. "That's why it's illegal under the blood treaties. The Vorn consider biological manipulation a crime worse than murder." Jack nodded. "Under Vorn law, using this makes us blood criminals. Not just war criminals, something worse in their culture." "But it would get us through the blockade?" Lisa asked. "I believe so," Jack said. "Enough to deliver the medical supplies, at least." Tom was checking something on his tablet. His face grew serious. "Captain, there's more. According to these specs, Blacklight permanently alters certain markers that the Vorn can detect. We'd be marked, not just our ship, but our actual DNA. The Vorn would hunt us forever." Jack stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars streaked by as the damaged Defiance limped through space. "I'm not ordering any of you to do this," he said without turning around. "I'll take a shuttle if I have to. But those colonists need help." Lisa joined him at the window. "How long have we served together, Jack?" 8 years. "Almost 9, he replied. "Then you should know we're not letting you go alone." She looked back at the others. "I'm in." Tom sighed dramatically. "The Defiance would fall apart without me anyway. I'm in." "Someone needs to deliver those medical supplies properly," Dr. Davis added. "Count me in." Jack turned to face his crew, his friends. "Once we do this, there's no going back. We'll be outlaws to both the Vorn and probably Earth too. The treaties are clear. Some laws need breaking, Lisa said simply. Jack nodded, feeling both proud and scared. Thank you. I'll speak to the rest of the crew. Anyone who wants to leave can take the escape pods to the mining station in Sector 7. No questions asked, no marks on their record. 3 hours later, Jack stood in the ship's main hall. All 93 remaining crew members had gathered. Not a single person had taken the escape pods. We've all seen what the Vorn Empire does to planets they want, Jack began. They find excuses, treaties, regulations, quarantines, but it's all about expansion. They want New Hope's resources, and this plague gives them the perfect excuse to let humans die. He activated a screen showing the colony. We'll approach with minimal power. They'll think we're more damaged than we are. When we're in range, we'll activate blacklight and make our run through the gap it creates. What about the colonists? Someone asked. Will this affect them too? Jack shook his head. Blacklight only affects Vorn biology. But be clear, once we use it, we're marked people. The Vorn believe in blood guilt. They'll hunt our families, our bloodlines. A young engineer raised her hand. Sir, I have a sister on Earth. I understand, Jack said softly. Last chance to leave. The engineer straightened her back. My sister would want me to save those colonists, sir. I'm staying. Jack looked at his crew with pride. Prepare for light speed exit in 30 minutes. Battle stations in 2 hours. Today, the Defiance will earn its name. As the crew dispersed, Lisa stayed behind. We're really doing this, she said. Jack nodded. Breaking every law, defying an empire. For the right reasons, she reminded him. Let's hope history remembers it that way, Jack replied. If we survive long enough for there to be a history. The Defiance turned toward New Hope Colony, its damaged hull creaking with the effort. Ahead lay 7 Vorn warships, a desperate colony, and the line between law and justice that they were about to cross. Jack Walker had been a rule follower his entire career. But today, rules would not save his brother or the colonists. Today, the Defiance would defy not just the Vorn, but the very laws that bound the galaxy together. And nothing would ever be the same again. Vorn blockade in visual range, Captain. Jack nodded at Lisa's report and leaned forward in his command chair. On the main screen, 7 massive Vorn ships floated in perfect formation around New Hope Colony. Their ships looked like giant smooth stones with glowing blue lines running across their hulls. Each one was 5 times bigger than the Defiance. All power to forward shields, Jack ordered. Keep us running dark. Tom's voice came through the comm system from the engine room. We're as dark as we can get, Captain. But they'll spot us soon enough. We just need to get close, Jack replied. Dr. Davis, report to the bridge. Minutes later, Anna Davis entered, carrying a small metal case. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed it on the command console. Project Blacklight is ready, she said. Then she lowered her voice. Captain, I've been studying the colony's medical reports. This isn't a natural plague. Jack turned to her. What do you mean? The disease has markers I've seen before in Vorn bioweapons research files. Her eyes were hard. They released this plague themselves. A cold anger filled Jack's chest. They created the problem and blocked the solution. They want the planet, Lisa said, understanding dawning on her face. Kill the humans with disease, then move in after claiming they tried to help. Jack turned back to the view screen. Then we have even more reason to break through. Tom, how close do we need to be for maximum effect with blacklight? 5,000 kilometers should do it, Tom's voice replied. Current distance is 12,000 kilometers, Lisa reported. They've spotted us. Vorn ships are hailing. Ignore them, Jack ordered. All hands, brace for evasive maneuvers. The Defiance shuddered as the first warning shots from the Vorn ships passed near their hull. 9,000 kilometers, Lisa called out. Jack opened the metal case. Inside was a small silver device with a simple red button. It looked too ordinary to be something that would change their lives forever. 7,000 kilometers. The ship rocked violently as a Vorn energy beam grazed their shields. Shields at 60%. Someone shouted. 6,000 kilometers. Another hit. The lights flickered, and emergency alarms began to wail. Shields at 40%. 5,500 kilometers. Jack's finger hovered over the button. Everyone remember, after this, there's no going back. We'll be blood criminals to the Vorn. Better criminals than dead, Lisa replied, gripping her console as another blast hit them. 5,000 kilometers, Captain. Jack pressed the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the silver device hummed and projected a signal pattern on the small screen, waves of light that pulsed in hypnotic rhythm. On the main view screen, the effect on the Vorn ships was immediate. Their perfect formation broke apart. 2 ships drifted sideways. Another began to spin slowly. It's working, Lisa exclaimed. The Vorn communication channels are filled with confused signals. Full power to engines, Jack ordered. Take us through the gap between those 2 ships. The Defiant surged forward, its damaged engines screaming with the effort. They passed between 2 massive Vorn vessels whose weapons fired wildly into space, missing the human ship entirely. Then a blinding flash lit up the bridge as a stray shot hit them directly. Hull breach on Deck C. Lisa shouted over the alarms. Engineering reports major damage. Jack hit the comm button. Tom, status. No answer came. Tom, respond. The ship lurched sideways as another hit struck them. Jack fought to stay in his chair. We're past the blockade line, Lisa reported, but we took heavy damage. Jack stood up. Get us to the colony. I'm going to engineering. He ran through smoke-filled corridors, passing crew members putting out fires and sealing breaches. When he reached engineering, he found chaos. A support beam had fallen, and 3 crew members were lifting it off a 4th person. It was Tom, his face pale, and his uniform soaked with blood. The reactor coolant system was going to blow, a young engineer explained as Jack knelt beside Tom. He manually locked it down. Tom's eyes fluttered open. Did we make it through? We did, Jack confirmed. Thanks to you. Tom grabbed Jack's arm with surprising strength. Listen, I modified blacklight before we used it. Added a signature. What kind of signature? Jack asked. The Vorn ships we affected. I marked them too. Tom coughed and blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. Their own kind will see them as tainted now. Just like us. Before Jack could respond, his comm unit beeped. Captain to the bridge. Urgent. Jack squeezed Tom's shoulder. Get him to medical. He ordered the others, then raced back to the bridge. When he arrived, Lisa pointed at the long-range scanner. A Vorn battle group is changing course to intercept us. At least 20 ships. The comm system crackled to life, and a deep voice filled the bridge. A Vorn face appeared on screen. Gray skin, 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth filled with small, sharp teeth. Human vessel, the Vorn said in a cold voice. I am High Admiral Kren of the Vorn Empire. You have committed blood sacrilege against our kind. Your DNA is now marked for eternal cleansing. Your bloodlines will be purged. No treaty, no law, no power in this galaxy will save you or your descendants from our vengeance. Jack stepped forward. This is Captain Walker of the UEF Defiance. Your empire created a plague to kill innocent colonists. We're bringing them medicine. If that makes us criminals in your eyes, so be it. Kren's 4 eyes narrowed. You do not understand what you have done, human. This is beyond politics or war. You have defiled our very being. And now you will learn the price. The transmission cut off. Lisa looked at Jack, her face grim. Sir, the Vorn communication channels are strange. Other Vorn factions are demanding explanations from the blockade ships. They're calling them blood-tainted and infected. Jack remembered Tom's words about marking the Vorn ships. "What have we started?" he whispered. The Defiance limped toward New Hope Colony, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from a dozen wounds in its hull. Behind them, a Vorn battle group was coming, not just to stop them, but to erase them from existence. And somewhere in the vastness of space, confused Vorn ships from the blockade were being treated as outcasts by their own kind, marked by the same technology that had turned the crew of the Defiance into the most wanted humans in the galaxy. The Defiance entered New Hope's atmosphere with a trail of fire behind it. Half its engines were dead, and the hull groaned with every small movement. In the command chair, Jack gripped the armrests as the ship shook violently. Landing in 30 seconds, Lisa called out, fighting with the controls. "This won't be pretty, Captain." Jack activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, brace for rough landing." The colony came into view below them, a collection of white buildings surrounded by farm fields and forests. But something was wrong. Even from the air, Jack could see people lying in the streets. No one was moving to help them. The Defiance hit the ground hard, skidding across an empty field before coming to a stop. Emergency systems activated, putting out small fires that had started during the landing. "Secure the ship," Jack ordered as he stood up. "Dr. Davis, grab your medical team and the supplies. Let's move." 20 minutes later, Jack led a group of crew members toward the colony's main medical center. The streets were eerily quiet except for the sounds of coughing and crying coming from buildings. Bodies lay where they had fallen, too many for the remaining healthy colonists to move. "It's worse than reported," Dr. Davis whispered, her face pale as they walked past a playground where 3 small bodies lay covered with blankets. Jack's heart hammered in his chest. "We need to find my brother." And the colony leader. The medical center was overflowing with sick people. Beds lined the hallways, and medical staff moved slowly between patients, their own faces showing signs of the disease. "Who's in charge here?" Jack called out. A tired-looking doctor approached them. "I'm Dr. Park. Are you?" "From Earth." Jack nodded. "Captain Walker of the UEF Defiance. We broke through the Vorn blockade with medical supplies." Dr. Park's eyes widened. "How did you manage that?" "We'll explain later," Jack said. "First, these supplies need to be distributed, and I'm looking for Bill Walker, my brother." Dr. Park's face fell. "Bill is alive, but you should come with me." He led Jack to a side room while Dr. Davis began organizing the distribution of medicine. On a bed in the corner lay a man who looked like an older version of Jack. His skin had a sickly red color, and his breathing was shallow. "Bill," Jack whispered, moving to his brother's side. Bill's eyes opened slowly. "Jack? Is that really you?" Jack knelt beside the bed. "It's me. We brought medicine. You're going to be okay." Bill shook his head weakly. "You shouldn't have come. The Vorn. They did this to us." "We know," Jack said. Dr. Davis figured it out. "Not just the disease," Bill whispered. "They'd been watching us for months. We found something. In the old mines." Before Jack could ask more questions, Lisa's voice came through his comm unit. "Captain, we've got Vorn scout ships entering the atmosphere. 5 of them." Jack stood up. "I have to go, Bill. But I'll be back." Bill grabbed his arm. "Find James Hill, the colony governor. He has proof of what the Vorn have been doing." Jack squeezed his brother's hand, then ran back to where Dr. Davis was working. "Vorn scouts are coming," he told her. "Keep working on the cure. I'm taking the security team back to the ship." By the time Jack reached the Defiance, Tom was there, his chest bandaged but standing at attention with the rest of the crew. "You should be resting," Jack said. Tom managed a weak smile. "Not when we have company coming, Captain." The ship's sensors showed 5 Vorn scout ships circling the colony. They hadn't attacked yet, but Jack knew it was only a matter of time. "Power up what weapons we have left," he ordered, "and find me Governor James Hill." An hour later, Jack sat in the colony's government building, looking at the evidence Governor Hill had collected. The gray-haired man pointed at screen after screen of data. "We found ancient technology in the mines," Hill explained. "Technology that affects sensory systems, similar to what you used against the Vorn blockade." Jack looked up in surprise. "You know about blacklight?" Hill nodded. "Not by name, but we discovered the principles. That's why the Vorn targeted us. They've been systematically attacking any human colony that gets close to this kind of technology." "But why?" Lisa asked. She had joined them after securing the ship. "Because it's the one thing that threatens their biological supremacy," Hill said. "The Vorn have built their entire empire on the belief that their advanced senses make them superior to all other species. This technology levels the playing field." Jack thought about the Vorn battle group heading their way. "Governor, how many people are left healthy enough to fight?" "Maybe 200, Hill replied grimly. "Everyone else is sick or caring for the sick." Dr. Davis entered the room, looking exhausted but excited. "Captain, I think we have something. We've been studying the blacklight technology, and there are similarities between how it affects Vorn biology and how their plague affects human cells. We might be able to create a counteragent." Jack felt a flicker of hope. "How long?" "Hours, not days," she replied. "But we'll need the colony's atmospheric processors to distribute it planet-wide." Hill looked concerned. "Those same processors could be used to amplify your blacklight signal against the Vorn fleet when they arrive." Jack understood the problem immediately. They could save the colonists from the plague, or they could defend against the coming Vorn attack. Not both. Before he could respond, the building shook as an explosion sounded in the distance. Lisa checked her tablet. "The Vorn scouts are attacking the outer farms." Jack made a quick decision. "Dr. Davis, keep working on the cure. Lisa, come with me back to the Defiance. We need to send a message." "A message?" Lisa asked as they hurried through the streets. "To whom?" "To every human settlement in range," Jack replied. "The Vorn have been waging a secret war against us. It's time everyone knew." Back on the damaged ship, Jack stood in the communication room. Using the last of their power, he recorded a message explaining everything. The Vorn bioweapon, the technology they feared, and how Project Blacklight had allowed one damaged ship to break through their blockade. "This information needs to reach Earth," he told Lisa as the message began transmitting on all frequencies. "The Vorn aren't just enforcing treaties. They're eliminating any human colony that discovers technology that threatens them." Tom entered the room, looking at a scanner. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up the main Vorn battle group. They'll be here in less than 12 hours. Jack looked at his loyal crew, then out the viewport at the colony where thousands of people, including his brother, were fighting to survive. "Then we have 12 hours to prepare our last stand," he said quietly. 11 hours later, Jack stood at the colony's Defense Control Center with Governor Hill, Lisa, and Tom. The large screen in front of them showed 25 Vorn warships entering the planet's orbit. At their center was a massive vessel twice the size of the others. "High Admiral Kren's flagship," Lisa said, pointing at the largest ship. "The Blood Purity." "Fitting name," Tom muttered. Despite his injuries, he had refused to rest. A light flashed on the communication panel. Governor Hill looked at Jack. "They're hailing us." Jack nodded. "Put them through." The screen changed to show High Admiral Kren. His 4 yellow eyes seemed to burn with hatred as he looked at the humans. "Captain Walker," Kren said, his voice deep and cold. "Your actions have disturbed the natural order of our galaxy." "Your empire created a plague to kill innocent people," Jack replied. "We brought medicine. Who really disturbed the natural order?" Kren's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. "I offer you terms, human. Surrender yourself and your crew for blood purification, and this colony will be spared." Everyone in the room knew what blood purification meant: execution. "And if we refuse?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then we will cleanse this planet entirely," Kren said simply. You have 1 hour to decide. The screen went blank. He's lying, Lisa said immediately. Even if we surrender, they'll still destroy the colony. I know, Jack replied. But it gives us an hour to finalize our plans. He turned to Dr. Davis, who had just entered the room. How's the cure coming? We've got it, she said, her eyes bright with hope despite her exhaustion. The counteragent works. We've tested it on 30 patients, including your brother. They're already showing improvement. For the first time in days, Jack felt a moment of real hope. Can we distribute it planet-wide? Yes, through the atmospheric processors, Davis confirmed. But it will take all their power for about 40 minutes to completely cover the colony. Tom looked troubled. That's the same system we need to amplify our blacklight signal against the Vorn fleet. The room went quiet as everyone understood the impossible choice they faced. Use the processors to cure the colonists, leaving them defenseless against the Vorn attack, or use them as a weapon and let more colonists die from the plague. Lisa studied the defense systems display. What if we run them in sequence? Cure distribution first, then reconfigure for blacklight. Governor Hill shook his head. The Vorn won't wait. The moment they detect us using the processors, they'll attack. Then we need to buy time, Jack decided. The Defiance will engage the Vorn ships while the processors distribute the cure. Tom stared at him. Captain, the Defiance can barely fly, let alone fight 25 Vorn warships. We don't need to win, Jack said quietly. We just need to distract them long enough for the cure to spread. No one spoke for a moment. They all understood what Jack was suggesting. A suicide mission. I'll go with you, Lisa said firmly. Me too, Tom added. Jack shook his head. Tom, you're needed here to reconfigure the processors after the cure distribution. And Lisa, I need you to coordinate the colony's defenses. Before anyone could argue further, the building shook violently. Alarms sounded throughout the colony. They're not waiting an hour, Governor Hill said, checking the sensors. They've started bombing the outer areas. Then we move now, Jack ordered. Dr. Davis, start the cure distribution. Tom, get ready to reconfigure the processors the moment it's done. Lisa, get our remaining security team to the Defiance. As everyone rushed to their positions, Jack made a quick stop at the medical center. His brother Bill was sitting up in bed, his skin already looking less red. The cure is working, Bill said, his voice stronger than before. Jack squeezed his shoulder. Good, because I need a favor. 20 minutes later, Jack stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Around him, a skeleton crew of 15 volunteers manned the stations. Through the view screen, he could see the Vorn ships firing on the colony. All weapons online, reported a young officer. What little we have left. Engines at 30%, called another. It's the best we can do, Captain. Jack took his seat in the command chair. That's all we need. Take us up. The damaged ship rose shakily from the colony surface, its hull creaking with the effort. As soon as they cleared the atmosphere, the Vorn ships noticed them. We're being targeted, the weapons officer called out. Multiple ships locking on. Evasive maneuvers, Jack ordered. Target Kren's flagship. The Defiance fired its remaining weapons at the massive Vorn vessel. The shots barely scratched its hull, but achieved what Jack wanted. Attention. They're following us. Lisa's voice came through the comm. The bombing of the colony has stopped. Cure distribution is at 60%. The ship rocked violently as Vorn energy beams struck their already damaged hull. Shields failing. Hull breach on Deck B. Weapons systems offline. The reports came in one after another as the Defiance took hit after hit. Jack held tight to his chair as the ship spun from a particularly powerful blast. How much longer for the cure? He asked over the comm. 10 more minutes, Davis replied. We're at 80% coverage. Just then, a blinding beam cut through the bridge. 2 crew members were thrown across the room. A support beam crashed down, narrowly missing Jack. We're not going to last 10 minutes, the engineer reported grimly. Core systems are failing. Jack looked at his brave crew, then at the Vorn ships surrounding them. They had drawn most of the fleet away from the colony, but Kren's flagship remained in position to strike. "Lisa," Jack called over the comm. "Is Tom ready to reconfigure the processors for blacklight?" "Not yet," she replied. "The cure needs 5 more minutes." The ship rocked again, and emergency lights flashed red. The end was coming. Then Jack's comm unit lit up with a private channel. It was Bill. "Jack, I'm at the experimental defense platform. The one we found in the mines." Jack's eyes widened. "The ancient tech, but you're still recovering." "Not anymore," Bill replied. "Your doctor's cure worked wonders. And it's time I did my part." "What are you planning?" Jack asked, though he already feared the answer. "This platform has a pulse system," Bill explained. "It can disrupt Vorn ships for a short time. Just enough for you to get away, or for Tom to reconfigure the processors." "Bill, wait." But it was too late. Through the view screen, Jack saw a massive energy wave expand from the colony, washing over the Vorn ships. One by one, their lights flickered and went out. "Vorn fleet disabled," the sensor officer reported with amazement. "But it's temporary. Maybe 3 minutes." Jack hit the comm button. "Tom, reconfigure the processors now. Lisa, get everyone to shelter." "Bill, respond." There was no answer from his brother. As the Defiance drifted in space, surrounded by temporarily disabled Vorn ships, Jack knew that his brother had likely sacrificed himself to give them this chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. "Get everyone off the ship," Jack ordered over the ship-wide comm. "Escape pods, now." The remaining crew members looked at him in confusion. "Captain," his weapons officer asked. "That's an order," Jack said firmly. "I'm staying to pilot the Defiance for one final mission. The rest of you are needed on the colony." One by one, the crew reluctantly left the bridge. Jack sat alone in his command chair, watching the Vorn ships on the view screen. They were already showing signs of recovering from Bill's pulse weapon. "Captain, the atmospheric processors are being reconfigured for blacklight." Tom's voice came through the comm. 2 minutes until ready." "Good," Jack replied, "because the Vorn ships are waking up." As the last escape pod left the Defiance, Jack took manual control of the damaged ship. The plan had formed in his mind the moment he saw Bill's pulse disable the Vorn fleet. There was only one way to end this. "Lisa, status on colony defenses?" he asked. "Minimal," she replied. "But the cure has been distributed. People are already recovering. What are you planning, Jack?" Jack didn't answer directly. "Is there any word from Bill?" There was a pause. "I'm sorry, Jack. The defense platform overloaded. He didn't make it." Jack closed his eyes for a moment, letting the grief wash over him. Then he focused on the task ahead. "Tom, I need blacklight at maximum power. Can you transfer control to the Defiance?" "Yes, but—" Tom began. "Do it," Jack interrupted. "And both of you, make sure my message reaches Earth. They need to know everything." Before either could respond, a new message came through. This one from an unexpected source. Jack read it twice, not believing what he was seeing. "Captain," Lisa's voice was urgent. "The Vorn ships are powering up their weapons again. Whatever you're planning, do it now." Jack opened a channel to Kren's flagship. The Vorn admiral's face appeared on screen, his 4 eyes narrowed with hatred. "Your time is up, human," Kren said. "You have defied our laws, tainted our blood, and now you will." "You're wrong, Admiral," Jack interrupted. "About many things, but mainly about being alone in your beliefs." Jack transferred the message he'd just received to Kren's ship. The Vorn's expression changed from anger to shock. "This is impossible," Kren whispered. "Earth received our broadcast," Jack explained. "They've declared war on the Vorn Empire. Human fleets are already heading this way, all equipped with modified blacklight technology." Kren's face twisted with rage. It changes nothing. You will not live to see them arrive. Probably not, Jack agreed, but neither will you. He closed the channel and activated the ship's engines. The Defiance moved forward, directly toward Kren's flagship. Jack, what are you doing? Lisa's voice was panicked. The right thing, he replied calmly. Tom, is blacklight ready? Yes, Captain. Transferred to your controls. But sir, if you activate it at close range combined with a reactor overload. I know, Jack said. It will create a unique radiation signature that will permanently mark all Vorn DNA in the system. They'll all be blood-tainted by their own laws. Jack could almost see Lisa and Tom exchanging looks of horror and understanding. What he was planning would mean his death, but it would also mean that every Vorn in the fleet would be marked as impure forever. There has to be another way, Lisa pleaded. There isn't, Jack said. And this isn't just about revenge. Look at your sensors. There was a pause, then Lisa gasped. Some of the Vorn ships, they're firing on each other. The ships we marked with blacklight during our blockade run, Jack explained. Tom's modification worked. They'd been cast out by their own kind, and now they're fighting back. The Vorn Empire is fracturing from within. The Defiance continued its collision course with Kren's flagship. Weapons fire from both Vorn factions lit up space around the human ship, but Jack flew straight through it. Jack, Tom's voice was quiet. It's been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine, Jack replied. Take care of the colony, and make sure my brother's sacrifice isn't forgotten. As the Defiance approached Kren's massive ship, Jack activated blacklight at maximum power and set the reactor to overload. Warning alarms blared around him, but he ignored them. On his screen, he could see escape pods launching from some of the Vorn ships, crews abandoning their posts as civil war erupted in their fleet. Kren's flagship fired desperately at the approaching human ship, but it was too late. For Bill, Jack whispered as he pressed the final button. The Defiance crashed into Kren's flagship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a blinding light erupted as the reactor and blacklight system detonated together. The explosion engulfed both ships and spread outward, washing over the entire Vorn fleet with its unique radiation. 3 months later, Lisa stood with Tom and Dr. Davis at a simple stone memorial in the center of New Hope Colony. The inscription read, "To the crew of the Defiance, who broke every law to save our blood, and in doing so, changed the stars." Governor Hill approached them, holding a data tablet. "News from Earth," he said. "The war is turning in humanity's favor. Vorn society is breaking apart over the blood taint issue. Half their fleet refuses to fight alongside impure commanders." "And the technology?" Davis asked. "Earth scientists have reverse-engineered the Vorn bioweapons and developed permanent countermeasures based on your work," Hill replied. "The very technology that made us criminals has become our salvation." Lisa touched the memorial stone gently. Jack would be pleased. Tom nodded. And Bill too. They turned to watch a group of children playing nearby. Children who would have died from the Vorn plague, if not for the Defiance and its crew. In the distance, a new settlement was being built, named Walker in honor of the brothers who gave their lives. High above them, in orbit around New Hope, a new class of human warships gathered. They had arrived too late to save the Defiance, but in time to secure the colony and push back the remaining Vorn forces. Each ship bore a name inspired by the Defiance and its crew. The First Fleet, built specifically to challenge the biological supremacy that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. On the flagship's hull, large letters spelled out its name, UEF Walker's Defiance. The blood laws of the Vorn had marked humans as criminals. But in the end, it was Vorn blood that remembered the lesson. Never underestimate what humans will do to protect their own. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, the message of the Defiance continued to spread. Humanity would no longer bow to alien laws that threatened their survival. They would defy every blood and law that stood in their way. That was their nature. That was their strength. That was their defiance.